All right, welcome to the Kreuger Show, everybody. Hope everybody's having a phenomenal day. It is 7:34 on the West Coast, 10:34 on the East Coast. Welcome to the Pig and a Pickle Kreuger Show, brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out in Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week in each spot from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. We're also brought to you by New York Style Italian sausage. The only kind of Italian sausage I eat is New York style Italian sausage. And of course, we are brought to you by Marin Auto Glass. MarinAutoGlass.com, 415-883-3030. We're also brought to you by Mojo Fantasy and Underdog Fantasy. Check the link in the description. Use that promo code KRUEG, K-R-U-E-G, and they'll match you up to your first $100. Well, it is Eagles week. And so we are streaming Mad Men throughout this week, streaming 2, 3, 4 times a day. We've already streamed today with Jody Mack from WIP in Philly with the great Grant Cohn. And now we bring in the man himself, Raj from RSF 49ers. Hey, Raj, how are you, man? Good to see you.
I'm good, man. You're right. Eagles week, it's hype. I just came off a stream right before I hopped on here. So from IG to YouTube, I'm so excited this week, man. I wish it was Sunday right now, Larry. Let's go.
Oh, I know. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. We should tell everybody, like and subscribe right now. Hit the Raphael 5629ers is maybe our most valuable guy in the chat. He's always reminding everybody. He says, good evening, Larry, the great Raj, and everyone. Like and subscribe, everybody. Yeah, if you hit like, that helps the algorithm. More people find the stream. If you hit subscribe, and then you click that notification bell, every time we go live, you'll get a little notification on your phone that we're going live. So if everybody in the stream can click like, we'll get more people in here and build this thing up. We're not going to go hours and hours and hours tonight. I'm going to watch the second half of the Warrior game. I'm going to stream after the Warriors in the Kings tonight with some of my basketball buds. Will stop by. We'll do that. But let's talk a little Niners. All right, Raj, give me your breakdown. I mean, last year the Niners went to Philly. They lost. We all know what happened. Purdy got knocked out 6 plays in. The Niners tried to block Hassan Reddick with Tyler Kroft, and Kroft, couldn't hold up on the block, and the Purdy held the ball too long. He got his elbow kind of ripped back in the middle of a throw, torn ligaments, end of ball game. 6 plays in, very, very frustrating. Is it going to be different this time around?
I hope so, because if Brock Purdy gets hurt again on the same shit, I'm done. I'm so sick. Everybody's going to be mad. But Larry, yes, to answer your question, I think it's going to be a different story. The 49ers know they got to protect Purdy. That was the big issue, right? All offseason, after the game, all the media, all the talk, all the noise, all the drama, everybody says, oh, well, all the Niner fans, if we had Brock Purdy, we win this game. So now this is a huge game for Brock Purdy to show the world, like, yeah, guess what? I am that guy. To silence the doubt from the media, for all the people that say, maybe he's not that good. He's still the system quarterback. Like, he's played really good over the last couple of weeks, like we've been talking about. And now this is a game where he could have an MVP moment. This past week, Jalen Hurts had his MVP moment. Touchdown he ran for. He pulled it down, QB draw up the middle, overtime against the Bills. That's an MVP type moment. Brock Purdy can go into the link, Larry, and defeat the mighty Eagles and take them down to 10-2. And if Brock Purdy can do that, then yes, he will have an MVP moment. But he has to be able to be protected. That is going to be a big key to this game. It's going to be a battle in the trenches. And if the 49ers can't stop the Hassan Reddick and Carter and all those guys on the Eagles D-line, it's going to be a long night. But I think that they've been hungry. They've been waiting for this game. They've got this game circled on their calendar. And I think it's going to be a different situation than it was in Philly in the NFC Championship game. Because, again, the biggest takeaway was it would have been a different game. Now we get to see that game play out in its reality. Whether the 49ers win or not, I'm not sure. But I think it will be a massively down-to-the-wire type game against Philly.
Purdy is obviously a big part of this story for the 49ers. He's coming off of a very good game in Seattle. I thought he was outstanding in that game. Now, he did throw a pick 6, but, man, outside of that, he was nearly perfect. George Kittle went on Jim Rome today, and he talked a little bit about Purdy. And Purdy is on track, by the way, to become the first 49er quarterback to surpass 4,000 passing yards since Jeff Garcia did it in 2000. I mean, think about that. You almost got to go back quarter century to find the last 49er quarterback to throw for 4,000 plus yards. In fact, Purdy's projected for 4,437 yards, which would set the franchise record. And, Kittle told Rome today, he says, I think I can speak for everybody on our offense. We're continually impressed with the things that Brock does all the time. His consistency every single day, the relationship he's built with all of our skilled players, all the guys that he gets the ball to. It's pretty amazing. And we all feel that comfort with him. And he's just got such a knack with the ball. And also when you have a quarterback that when he steps into the huddle and 10 sets of eyes just snapped him and listen to every single word that he says, whether it's the play call, whether it's he's got this to get this one or whatever it is, he just lifts players up, our entire offense. He lifts us all up to be playing at a higher level. Raj, let's talk about, we'll start there with the Niner offense. The Niner offense is averaging 386 yards, total yards per game this season. That's third in the NFL. They're averaging 28 points per game. That's tied with the Eagles for third in the league. So how do you see the matchup, Niner offense against Eagle defense? What stands out to you in this matchup?
Yeah, so a couple of things, and it's Brock Purdy again. We got to talk about the guy, the key that everybody said last offseason. If he was there, different game, all that. So Brock Purdy's got to attack the Eagles secondary, because if you look at this Eagles defense, their one glaring hole that, if you can really put a hole on a 10-1 team, is their secondary. They're 28th against the pass, I believe. So the Eagles are susceptible to the passing game. So if Brock Purdy can start to kind of get the ball down the field. We've seen it over the last couple of weeks. He's starting to stretch the field. He's not the dink and dunk guy that everybody wants to sit here and say. He averages 9.4 yards per pass attempt. Like, he's got the number one, pass attempt. He's got the number one passer rating. He's number one in completion. Like, he's number one in almost every category. But that's the key, is he's getting the ball down the field at a high rate, not just like these 2-yard passes, 3-yard passes. He's got to test this secondary. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey's got to pace this team. He's leading the NFL in rushing yards. That's how it starts. But play action, Brock Purdy's ability to scramble and create with his feet, those are all big aspects. But he's got to take shots. And I think Brandon Ayuk has got to be the unsung hero of this game, because Brandon Ayuk wants to get paid. Over the last couple of weeks, he's been scoring touchdowns. And if Brock Purdy and Brandon Ayuk can connect and just trash this Eagles secondary, it's going to be a long day for them. And that is, to me, the biggest key, is continue that, connection from Brock and Brandon Ayuk. Those two guys have such a great connection. And you're right. What Kittle said is, this guy's so poised. Like, he doesn't seem like he gets rattled. He has to stay poised in a hostile environment, because the Link's a tough place. The fans are Eagle fans. Philly fans in general are just tough. So if he can stay poised and keep that connection going with these receivers, and they always talk great things about him. I think Christian McCaffrey earlier this week says Purdy has ice in his veins, and he does. He has to be able to keep that poise and stretch the field. And I think if they can attack the Eagles secondary, they have a really good chance to win, because to me, that is their weakness.
Well, let's talk about some of the numbers. The Niners are third in total offense, seventh in rushing offense, eighth in passing offense. And they're averaging, as we said, 28.2 points per game. Both teams, as we just said, both averaging the exact same, 28.2 points per game. Now let's flip it over and look at the Eagles on the defensive side. They're 19th in total defense. They're 20th in points allowed per game. The Niners, by the way, defensively are first in points allowed per game. Niners only give up 15 points a game. Eagles give up 22 a game. But the Eagles defense, it's interesting when you look at it, 19th overall. So they're giving up 341 yards per game. They're third in the league in run defense, only giving up 85.3 a game. But they're 29th in the league in pass defense, giving up 255.7 passing yards per game. I was just looking at some of the little bit more particular stats, and it seems like where the Eagles really are weak is in that intermediate middle of the field. And that's where I think Brock Purdy, is probably most likely to attack. It seems like a good portion of his passes wind up in the intermediate middle. Um, Kittle, Ayuk, Debo, CMC. To me, it's always risky to throw the ball in the middle of the field because of the defenders and anything can happen, tip balls, so on and so forth. But if there's an advantage, Raj, is it right there?
Absolutely. Again, the 49ers, they are so good at using, their weapons in those intermediate passing game, because before Brock was showing off the arm the last couple of weeks, that's what people said the 49ers do. Oh, they're just a, intermediate passing game. So the 49ers, they specialize in that. So I think for them, like George Kittle over the middle of the field, you get it to him. It's hard to tackle him down. Debo Samuel, I think, is a guy that will hopefully have a big game. He's had a lot of talk here and there over the last couple of months leading up to this game. So I think Debo is going to be a big aspect of this game. And Christian McCaffrey, they've been utilizing him in the slot, intermediate passes. I think Brock Purdy is going to have to really utilize that to his skill set. But again, once the defense starts trying to creep up and stop that, that's when you got to take the top off and you have to stretch the field. I think if they can get the ball downfield, again, to Brandon Ayuk or even George Kittle down the sideline, I think that's what's going to really help separate them from, games in the past. And I think that's what the Niners have to do is they have to be a little aggressive. I think Kyle Shanahan's going to have to get a little bit creative, pull the kitchen sink out. Definitely want to go over the middle, like you said, the intermediate passes, but I think they got to stretch the field. And then the other big concept of this game is the trenches, man. They have to be able to protect Brock, like we said earlier. If you remember last year's game, which you very eloquently painted a picture and gave me PTSD, they have to protect Brock. And this 49ers offensive line, they've gotten better over the last couple of weeks. John Feliciano, man, has been a rock solid offensive lineman. I know Burford came back this week. I think Feliciano stays and starts. Aaron Banks is back and he's great. Trent Williams is great. So I feel like the 49ers have to just continue where their offensive line is and hope to contain this Eagles secondary to give Brock the time, because the other aspect is, can he get the ball off in time to get the ball to those playmakers, because they're going to be trying to come to Purdy's neck like all night. And that's something that, again, we cannot let Purdy go down, because if he gets hurt in this game, we don't want to see Sam Darnold in this game.
Well, I mean, Purdy's just going to have to be smart with the ball and get rid of it. I mean, don't take sacks. If they have to punt, then punt. But don't have avoid huge negative plays and turning the ball over. And I think that will be a major key to victory. The Niners primarily, I think, are going to aim to attack that middle of the field. He's leading the NFL. Purdy is in efficiency on intermediate passes. He averages 13 yards per attempt on the intermediate passes, and the Eagles' biggest defensive struggles have come on those intermediate passes between the hash marks, where they've allowed a 95.6 QBR. So to me, that's where the 49ers have to live. Now let's flip the card and talk about the Niner defense going up against Jalen Hurts and this Eagles offense. To me, it's like not only do the Niners need a powerful rush, but they need to stay in their lanes. It needs to be a very well coordinated rush. The good news, though, Raj, I think, is that we've seen that in recent weeks from them. They didn't give Geno Smith avenues to run for the most part. They stayed in a very coordinated rush, kept him hemmed in the pocket, and to me, that's got to be the focal point of the pass rush. Since they got Chase Young, the Niners have generated 15 sacks in the 3 games since Chase Young has come aboard. He's doing a nice job of setting the edge, but they're also not giving opposing quarterbacks that obvious run lane.
Yeah, absolutely. Chase Young effect has been amazing ever since he's come in. Again, Nick Bosa's played like Nick Bosa again. He's had 5 sacks in the last 3 games with Chase Young there. That's number 1 in the NFL against all edge rushers. Like Nick Bosa's found the rejuvenation center with Chase Young. He's out there having fun. Hargrave has been amazing, and Arik Armstead in the middle. Those 2 guys have just been absolutely amazing in terms of getting pressure and generating, quarterback hits since Chase Young has been there. So yeah, they have to continue that pace they've had. It's not going to be an easy task because the Eagles' offensive line is probably the best in the league, and Lane Johnson will be back this week. He says he's going to play no matter what. He had a groin issue, but he'll be there. They got a very, very stout offensive line. So it's not going to be easy. But again, I think this secondary has also benefited from this pass rush. If the 49ers pass rush can continue to stay and contain Jalen Hurts, easier said than done, it's going to help the whole defense, which if we've also want to talk about that secondary, this secondary has been so much better. And I think the other aspect is they took out Oliver, they put in Lenore, but they've got their hands full because now you got Devonta Smith and you got AJ Brown. We saw what happened last week. Mooney Ward was able to kind of lock down DK Metcalf. He's got to recreate that performance against AJ Brown, another big physical specimen that can run after the catch. It's gonna be a tough matchup. But the other aspect is you said containing Jalen Hurts. I think they might want to put a spy on him, maybe Fred Warner, because the Jalen Hurts is damaging teams, not just with the arm. Like his passing yards, I feel like could be better overall, but it's his legs. Like he is beating teams with his legs. If you saw that game against the Bills, that back-breaking, game-winning touchdown came because he was able to run. And that's what the 49ers have to do is contain Jalen Hurts. You can't let him run. You can't let him escape the pocket. And they have to limit them from getting down in short yardage situation because that stupid tush push, brotherly love, whatever you want to call it,
Right.
brotherly shove. I mean, if the 49ers get into third and short, fourth and short, I don't know if they're going to be able to stop that play, Larry.
Oh, I know. First and second down on defense are absolutely crucial. You can't let them get to third and three because outside of, if they get outside their 25-yard line, it's almost like four down territory on third and three. And the other thing is, Steve Wilkes is going to have to kind of reprogram his mind as far as what he thinks he's going to get from this Eagles offense compared to the other offenses they faced, because the Eagles kind of mind screw you with this. You think one way and they're thinking a different way because they're thinking of it as a 4-down situation and you're thinking of it as a 3-down situation. Now the Eagles offensively, let's talk about them. They're 9th in total offense. They're 8th in rushing offense, 13th in passing offense. Then you flip the card and you look at the Niners on the defensive side and you say, okay, they're 5th in total D, 12th against the pass, 2nd in the NFL against the run. This is the one area that on paper, I think it really favors the Niners, but then I don't know if I believe the numbers that I'm looking at on paper. Like the Niners run D says they have the second best run D in all of the NFL. But, they didn't stop the run against Cleveland. They really didn't stop the run against Minnesota. They didn't stop the run against Cincinnati. The last couple games, they've gotten a lead. I mean, they did a good job against Etienne, but they got a big lead in that game.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the scoreboard really took away the run. And then you look at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay rolled in with one of the worst rushing attacks in pro football. And in this last game, they also jumped out to a big lead. And so it's like now you've got DeAndre Swift, who leads the Eagles with 770 rushing yards. But don't forget that Jalen Hurts has piled up 410 rushing yards himself. How confident are you that the 49ers run defense can stop anybody's run, let alone the Eagles with Hurts and Swift?
So this is a good question. And I think that the 49ers run defense, again, you mentioned it, has been good because they've been up in games. The games that they've lost, obviously, the teams were able to run on them, and it dictated the gameplay. When the 49ers have the lead, we've seen how good they play. We've seen Brock Purdy been able to kind of hold that lead. But again, it's those 3 games where they lost. They couldn't come back. Brock Purdy played bad, in the down the stretch. He couldn't will the team to win. So it goes back to the whole thing of, can Brock and this 49er team play from behind? So if they get a hole early in this game, I don't know if the 49ers are going to be able to stop the run because they play a way different style. They start pressing, but other teams, when they're faced against the 49ers and have to play from behind, again, they're going to start passing because generally, before the last couple of weeks, that secondary was very susceptible to big plays, and that's what was happening. It was Oliver, he couldn't get the tackles. The 49ers were missing tackles at high rates. People were doing screen passes left and right on the Niners, and it kind of prevented the 49ers to be able to stop anything. But I feel like the 49ers have to get to a lead, right? They have to jump out to a big lead because they don't play as good from behind, I think, overall. And not only that, they have to make the adjustments in the second half. So they cannot let the Philadelphia Eagles hang around. This is, to me, my biggest concern is if you let the Eagles hang around, Larry, they're going to win because they've done it. The Chiefs did it. The Bills did it. They're waiting for a opportunity for you to make a mistake. Football is like that, man. You make one little mistake and the other team's going to pounce on it. A team like the Eagles, that are 10-1, they didn't win every week because they didn't make the most of their opportunities. That's it. They're a very opportunistic team. And in terms of being able to stop that run, that is probably the most concerned area I have because they have a mobile quarterback. The 49ers traditionally over the last couple of years have had the worst luck against mobile quarterbacks. We've seen it against Lamar, we've seen it against Russell Wilson. Anytime a quarterback has mobility, hell, against the Falcons last year, Marcus Mariota look like Patrick Mahomes. So, I mean, to me, that is the biggest concern is can the 49ers stop this running attack? And it's not even Swift, it's Jalen Hurts. To me, that is the biggest key is can they stop the mobile quarterback? And they haven't really proved that they can over the last couple of years. They've gotten better at times, but, they got some tough ones coming up with Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson in the next couple of weeks. And that's to me the biggest concern is can they stop that running quarterback? And that's why I said I feel like they have to kind of use Fred Warner to spy and contain because if they don't, Jalen's going to be running all over us.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing that Jalen's dangerous as a scrambler. He's dangerous on designed runs.
Yeah.
They'll do both. If you get out of your rush lanes, like I don't know if I would play a lot of stunting games up front because sometimes those result in giving the quarterback an avenue. If this quarterback gets an avenue to run, he will run. And the thing about this game that's kind of interesting, and that's why I think Greenlaw and Warner are so crucial because when they see him take off, they got to close that space and make it a short gain. But Philadelphia, Raj, the last 3 games against Buffalo, prior to that, Kansas City, prior to that, Dallas, those are all playoff teams they've played. They've been outgained by a combined 339 yards during the past 3 games. A lot of people would say, they're ripe for the picking. I heard Dante Whitner thinks that there's a chance the 49ers can blow out the Eagles. What do you think of that?
I mean, that would be amazing. I think every Niner fan would be so super ecstatic. I think there's a chance, obviously, for that to happen any week in the NFL. You never know. I mean, the 49ers dominated the Cowboys and blew them out. If they're playing the way they're playing and they get momentum and they get on a roll, yeah, it's possible. I think the Eagles can blow out the Niners. Either way, it could go either way. Just depends on how the breaks go, turnovers and, where the ball falls. It can happen either way. I mean, I think everybody's anticipating this to be a close game. I mean, the fact of the matter is the 49ers are a 3-point favorite on the road against a 10-1 team. So,
what do you think of that?
that's crazy to me. I was like, wow, I was shocked when I found that out. I mean, so to me, if they really are the better team, they could definitely blow them out. But there's got to be a lot that goes into that. Again, Purdy has to play great. They got to have the O line protecting, and they have to get the turnovers. It's possible because at some point you got to feel like Philly's luck's got to run out. They're 10-1, but these last couple of weeks, like I said, they've gotten the benefit of the doubt of some calls. They've had some turnovers go their way. I mean, is that going to happen every week? The odds sometimes catch up with you because NFL is also a game of odds and not only, luck here and there, but the law of odds tell you that maybe it might catch up with the Eagles this week and their luck might run out. So yeah, it's definitely a possibility that, the big, conversion plays they've been getting over the last couple of weeks, the turnovers that they were getting in the fourth quarter, if those don't come and the 49ers protect the ball and play a clean game and play their football, they could dominate this team. They can.
What do you think of the Niner pass defense? The one thing we've talked about stopping Swift and stopping Hurts in the run game. But, the one thing with this team is they've got A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. A.J. Brown looked like he was in the middle of the MVP race until a couple weeks ago. I think he had like 6 or 7 straight 100-yard days. Devontae Smith, the former Heisman Trophy winner. How do you see the Niners with Mooney Ward? Mooney was so good against DK, but DK doesn't run the full tree, and it just seems like Mooney feels a lot of confidence against DK. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are, I was mentioning this to Grant earlier today. It's like if you go back to Jacksonville, they had Christian Kirk and Calvin Ridley. Both those guys can run, but their ball skills are just ordinary. Yeah. Then they got Tampa Bay, and they get Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Those guys have incredible ball skills, but they don't necessarily run all that well. Now you've got Seattle, where Seattle fell behind, but then, Lockett's got ball skills and DK runs well, but Lockett doesn't run great. And DK's ball skills are just kind of ordinary. Now you get a combo where they got both. right? AJ Brown and Devontae Smith both can run
Yeah.
and both have ball skills. And to me, that's makes them very, very tough if they were the best wide receiver on their team. And instead, they're on the same team. How do you see the Niners matching up with Ambry and Mooney and Lenore against the Eagles wideouts?
Yeah, it's the toughest matchup they've had to have. And, speed, ball skills, route running, these guys both have it all. You can put them on any other team, they'd be wide receiver one, and they're on the same team. It's scary. And if A.J. Brown gets locked up, Devontae Smith's probably going to go off. And that's what's happened in the last couple of weeks. Teams have really tried to key in on A.J., and he's okay with not getting his stats, as long as Devontae's eating. And then the same thing, if you lock up Devontae, it's not easy to lock up A.J. Brown. So I feel like the 49ers over the last couple of weeks, once they moved Oliver out the slot, they've really, really started playing better in terms of secondary play. They've been more physical. They've stopped playing that soft cover zone. I think they have to be aggressive, and that's what Mooney Ward excels in. He's a very good press cover corner. When he's aggressive and he can get his hands on a guy and play tight, and make them play his game and he gets in their head, that's when he's confident. But the only drawback of his style is when he is physical, he can get called for a lot of PIs, and that's what was happening early in the season. He was getting called for some tic tac fouls, but I think over the last couple of weeks, he's really really stepped up his confidence. And for Kyle Shanahan to tell him before the game, I need you to cover DK Metcalf. Like, that is the coach trusting a player, and that's going to instill so much confidence on a player. And I think that's going to really help transcend into this game. AJ Brown's no slouch, but I think that confidence is going to transcend into this game. To me, the biggest receiver that they got to really worry about is Devonta Smith, because I don't know if Ambry's going to be able to stay with them stride for stride, speed wise. Smith is on another level. You mentioned it, the ball skills, the route running. This guy's amazing. He's a former Heisman Trophy winner. Ambry Thomas's biggest challenge is this Sunday against the Eagles with Smith. Hopefully, the pressure from Nick Bosa, Chase Young, and all those guys can, cause Jalen to not throw accurate balls to those guys. Because if he has time in the pocket, he might carve up to Smith on Ambry Thomas. That to me is the biggest X factor in the secondary. I think Mooney Ward's going to hold his own against AJ Brown because he's physical. AJ will have a few plays here and there, but I think the biggest X factor is going to be Smith on Ambry Thomas. Ambry's played good the last couple of weeks, but this is his biggest game of his career.
No doubt. Two last ones. We'll read a couple supers, and then we got two last ones, and we'll let Raj get on with his night. Blood Moon says, "Imagine the ripple effect the Niners when the Niners win, then the Cowboys see blood in the water when the Eagles travel to Dallas." Yeah, I mean, every week in the NFL can be pivotal. 49ers, if they want any chance of hosting the NFC Championship game, they have to win this game, and then the Eagles have to go, on a little bit of a downturn. And then James Cummings says, "What's the word on Danny Gray? Can he come back this season? And will Beal Jr. get any run this season?" Yeah, they activated Robert Beal Jr. I'm excited about that because he does run 4.4. He does have amazing speed, whether it be on special teams or just as another extra rusher in a couple situations. If you're going to put a rusher if you're going to put a couple players on the field that haven't played, it would be nice to add speed. Especially to this Eagle team that looks to me to be a little beat up and a little gassed. The Niners have 3 extra days to prepare. Danny Gray, I just think it's a matter of a numbers game, right? What receiver are you taking off the field? Ray's your return man. Jennings, Ayuk, and Debo are not going anywhere. So unless you're going with an extra receiver, I don't think Gray's going to be up. As far as Beal Jr., I'm eager to see him be up. What do you think of those two guys? Also, what do you think of we got our first glimpse at Luter and Womack. We saw our first glimpse of Womack this year. We saw him last year. I loved what I saw from Luter chasing down Eskridge on the 66-yarder. What do you think? Are we going to see any new personnel in this game?
I think they might mix in Beal here and there. They mixed in Luter. They mixed in Womack, mainly more in special teams. You don't have George Odom. They picked up Eric Harris, so you might see him mixed in there too in terms of special teams, because Odom's a big loss. He was a really good special teams ace, Pro Bowler, actually, all-pro special teamer. So I think they might call up Harris this week. He'll get mixed in there. I like what I've seen out of Darrell Luter. That was a clutch tackle. He saved 4 points, Larry. Like, that was actually one of the biggest plays of the game that people don't talk about enough. That was huge. Unbelievable, Larry. Like,
what an athlete too.
I mean, it was impressive, man. I was like, wow, that was a huge game early in the game. So yeah, I like what I've seen out of him. Womack playing special teams too. I think those two guys have a bright future with this team. However it goes down, I think Beal might get mixed in a little bit. I could see him being, a speed rusher here and there, just to kind of keep legs fresh, things like that. I'm really intrigued with Robert Beal Jr. Honestly, this guy's speed, he's got a motor on him, and if he could just run to the quarterback when Nick Bosa's out there, that's going to help him out too. So I think we'll see a little bit out of him. He's a rookie. You don't expect too much, but I think he'll get a little bit. Danny Gray, I think you hit the nail on the head, Larry. Who the heck are you taking out? Debo's the pacemaker of this offense. Brandon Ayuk's the money man. You don't take him out for that guy. Juwan Jennings, this man is an absolute dog with the capital D. Did you see? I mean, you saw that game. That first
Oh,
down,
it's amazing.
that was another big pivotal play that if they don't get that, they may not win that game because it leads to a touchdown. He had the whole Seattle secondary on him, and he flipped him over like a hurricane, he was swirling him around like a hurricane, and he got first down. And he pointed. That play was incredible. And then Ronnie Bell, great
Ronnie
special
Bell was
teamer.
huge.
That fumble recovery, that is the reason why Danny Gray's not seeing the field, because everybody ahead of him, you can't bench him. You can't bench him.
Yeah, no, I know. I'd love to see Danny Gray, but I don't see how he gets on the field right now. Randall says, FYI, Raj, Ambry Thomas in college did shut down Devontae Smith, so guess we will see Smith if Smith can keep up with Ambry.
Yeah,
see. I mean, I'm looking forward to that as well. I may even ask Ambry about that matchup in college if he remembers much. All right, a couple last ones. Sirianni is just so annoying to me. Does he annoy you as much as he annoys me?
Larry, he has the most punchable face in the NFL. I cannot stand that man. He's sickening. I hate that guy. Screaming at the Chiefs fans. Every week he does something so cringeworthy. I cannot stand that man. That is one of the biggest reasons why I hate the Eagles. Their fan base is terrible, obviously. And their players talk a lot. And their coach is just despicable. And I think it starts from the top, right? If you have a horrible coach, everybody else is going to follow suit. But punchable face, Larry. I can't stand Sirianni.
I can't either. I seriously, he's, to me, he's one of the most annoying people in all of sports. Just the way he mugs for the camera and everything else. Alex says 49ers will win if they play clean football. Refs will be on the Eagles' side, though. I don't know if I can say the refs will be on their side, but I think clean football is essential. You can't fall behind the chains. The one thing with the Eagles, they don't make a lot of mistakes. They don't make a lot of penalties. They don't commit a lot of penalties.
Oh.
So if you do, you're playing into their hands.
Yeah.
All right, last one, Raj. What's your wild card factor in this one? And you're not going, are you?
No, I'm not going. If I made it to that, if I went up to the link, I probably wouldn't make it back, Larry. I need a security to go. X factor in this game, I think we hit the nail on the head, Larry. It's Ambry Thomas, Devonta Smith. That is it. If he can shut down and the 49ers secondary can keep those guys at bay and the 49ers play the clean game like the comment said, I think the Niners can come in and get a dub. And I feel like another factor that people are maybe forgetting is special teams, man. They got to be able to control the line of scrimmage and field position. I feel like Mitch Wishnowsky, man, that guy's punting has been phenomenal. And he can go out there and
that's
put
a good call
in good field position, because this is going to be a close game. They have to be able to get the field position in this game. And then Jake Moody and Elliott, man, did you see that?
Oh my God.
That Elliott had 59-yard field goal.
One of the best I've ever seen.
That was incredible. If it gets down to a game-winning field goal situation, which it could very well, that is a huge, huge X factor that favors the Eagles right now. I mean, that was probably one of the most difficult condition kicks I've ever seen a kicker make, and he did it without a sweat. That was crazy.
I'll say this. I think the wild card factor in this one is Brandon Ayuk.
Okay.
Ayuk is Purdy to Ayuk in the middle of the field has been, something that we've seen consistently since training camp. They have a sixth sense for one another. Watching Purdy throw, I was listening to Greg Cosell break it down today. And it was on Twitter. They kind of put it out there on Twitter, and he mentioned how that Purdy separated his hands and was throwing. We all know that he throws with anticipation. But he was already throwing with anticipation to that spot on the Ayuk touchdown before Ayuk made the break. That's how in lockstep he is with Ayuk right now, is that in the middle of a zone with 4 defenders in the area. He's releasing the ball before the receivers in his break or out of his break, throwing to a spot. And listening to Ayuk talk about it, Raj, when he was asked about it, he's like, "Hey man, I just got to get to my spot."
Yeah.
And it's like Purdy knows where that spot is. He knows where that spot is. Their timing is amazing. If they can just protect Brock Purdy, I think there's a very good chance that Purdy to Ayuk could be lethal. I could see Ayuk scoring 2 or 3 touchdowns.
Wow, I think so. I mean, and that's why Brock Purdy's leading the NFL in completion percentage because of that fact. Like when I saw that when he threw it in the middle of 4 defenders, like when you put the still frame, I posted that up. We had 1, 2, 3, 4 guys. Ayuk's right in the middle. Like to get it right there, you have to have precision. Like he was like a surgeon on that play. It was so unbelievable when I saw that. And then I love after the game, the press conference, Brandon Ayuk says they asked him, "What do you call that?" He goes, "That's a dot."
It's a dot, man.
Dot,
Flat
man.
out dot. It was a dime is what it was.
Dot,
And,
man.
and did you see Mike Shanahan? The
Yeah.
look they flashed right to Mike Shanahan. And
Yeah.
I think maybe either one of the Shanahan kids, maybe it was Kyle's kid, was in front of Mike Shanahan going like this, like bye-bye Seahawk fans. That was a very, very
Yeah. He
special
was
play.
smiling. He was like, "Good job, son. Good job.
Yeah.
Son. You found
Well,
your
I
court."
mean, think about it. If you were an NFL head coach and your son, and you won a couple rings, and your
Yeah.
son was one of the best coaches in the league, and he had yet to climb that mountaintop, and you knew what it meant to him professionally and personally to get that done, you would try everything in your power and be rooting like crazy. I wonder, and I want to ask Kyle, but it's like I almost don't want to ask him on the podium. I kind of want to ask him in a private moment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what role does Mike Shanahan play week to week? Because Mike Shanahan, Raj, was one of the brilliant play designers in the history of football. I mean, ask Steve Young. Steve Young played under Walsh initially, then he played under Mike Holmgren as the offensive coordinator, and then Shanahan at the end. And I bet he would tell you that Mike Shanahan was maybe one of the greatest play devisers and sequencers and callers of all time. And I just kind of wonder, does he have? I've heard from people rumors that he's got like an office, that he's got like a regular role within their game prep. I would love to know, does Mike Shanahan devise any plays? What's the extent of his involvement with the 49ers at this point? Is he just there with a hey, Kyle, go get him, kid? Or is he literally watching, looking for, hey, let's run this play in this sequence, try this, Kyle, this will work. Wouldn't you love to know to what level Mike
Yeah.
is involved? Because if that was my dad, I'd utilize him.
Absolutely. Are you kidding me? I'm sure he's more than just a dad. I'm pretty sure he's a consultant of some sort. If you ask Kyle at the podium, he's not going to tell you that. He's just, "Oh, you're just a dad. He's just happy to see."
He's just happy for us. Yeah.
No, he's definitely more than just a head coach. Like to have Kyle be the head coach and the offensive coordinator, I'm sure he's getting a little help somewhere out there.
Our Ariel says Mike Shanahan might be Kyle's OC. That's why Kyle doesn't want
That's
one.
what I was saying. Like he doesn't have an OC, so that might be his, his secret.
Freddie says, get Mike Shanahan on the line, Larry.
Yeah,
Something tells me he's probably steering clear of YouTube live streams, just at least before the game. But I would love to talk to him for sure. Raj, we always love talking to you as well. Tell us what you got cooking between now and Sunday for game day on either on the IG or on the YouTube channel. What do you got cooking? What do you got? You going to be doing some streams?
Oh, absolutely. We stream every night, man. We got to do it after work, come home and stream. So I got a couple tomorrow. I'm trying to get Chase Senior, Chase from.
Yeah, I do a regular deal with him on Fridays.
We might do one tomorrow. We'll see, but depending on my schedule, I'm trying to get him because he's actually.
He's
I
Mr.
didn't know
Philly.
this. I didn't know he's a Philly fan. The man covers the Niners.
He's a traitor. He's a traitor.
I was like, when I found this out recently, I was like, wait, what? He's a Philly guy? And I was like, that's disgusting to me. So I got to get him. I'm trying to get him. And then Friday night, I have my normal prediction show with Bash from 49er Minded. And then I got another guy that he's a big Eagles guy. he's gonna be doing a show with me because last year on Instagram, like we got into it, like we actually got like into it. Like he was calling up and we like made a big bet in that game, and oh man, but we're like good friends now actually out of it. So he's gonna be on the show, gonna run it back this year. So it'll be fun for the people that remember that live showdown.
How vile, by the way, are Eagles fans too? Did you see them treat the way they treated Bills fans this last week, and
Oh
throwing stuff, flipping birds? There's this one video. I don't. Did you see this one?
Yeah,
the little kid who runs up to the Bills fan, and he's like, the Bills fan thinks he wants to shake his hand. He goes to shake his hand. He flips him the bird. He's like, couldn't be more than like 7.
I was talking to one of my friends, and I told her, I said, that's like that's like, and it's funny because it like rubbed me the wrong way. I have a kid. You have kids. Everybody in the comment like laugh. Oh, that's so funny. No, that's why they're like enabling that, and that kid's gonna become a nasty, toxic, vile Eagles fan because they're okay with like it. It's not funny to me. A 7-year-old kid flipping the dude off. That was disgusting to me.
Seriously, that's just such trash.
Yeah.
I mean, if you got your 5, 6, 7-year-old flipping birds, you got some serious issues.
You got some problems, man.
All right, thanks to our sponsors, New York Style Italian Sausage. Thanks to Pig in a Pickle, the title sponsor of the Krug Show, Marin Auto Glass, Underdog Fantasy, Mojo Fantasy. Check that link in the description. Ooh. Use the promo code Krug, and they'll match you up to $100. Raj, I won't talk to you before game time. I'll simply sign off with a Go Niners, and we'll talk to you next Tuesday. How about that?
How about that? Hopefully next Tuesday we're talking about a dub over Philadelphia. Have a good week, Larry.
The great Raj from RSF 49ers. Peace, everybody. Out.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of.